Welcome to the Fantasy Football Profit Podcast, hosted by Craig Phillips and Jeff Torrey. Visit us at fantasyfootballprofit.com. And now your hosts, Craig and Jeff.
Welcome everyone to the Fantasy Football Profit Podcast. I'm Craig Phillips, joined as always by Jeff Torrey, and today we're talking about safe players. So these are the guys that, well, I guess we really didn't have like a guideline for this. It's just the players that we feel for one way or another, we'll get into the reasons why they're safe this year. I kind of avoided like Zeke, and I think Zeke's pretty safe. DeAndre Hopkins, I think he's pretty safe. Devontae Adams is pretty safe. But these are guys maybe a little below that just feel like you're not going to be disappointed. Maybe they won't go number one, but you're going to get them, they're going to plug them in, they're going to get you points every week, and it's just going to be, nothing to worry about. You're going to get your points, and they're there. They're not these boomer bust players. So we'll go over that in just a second. Before we do that, make sure you guys go check us out at Twitter at the FF Profit or Instagram at Fantasy Football Profit. If you go check us out on Instagram right now, we got this draft going on where actually everyone that follows us on Instagram or wherever, mainly the polls are on Instagram, you can actually do the draft for us. So that's been an interesting thing where I think we're in the 7th round right now. So if you want to help us out with that, go check us out. We did wide receiver in that one, which I keep going back to. I don't know, Jeff. It seems like it's working for the first time ever. Maybe not wide receiver completely, but wide receiver first round kind of works this year. And I think so with this one, it's a 12-team league. We got DeAndre Hopkins, then Antonio Brown, and then our running backs are still able to be Leonard Fournette and Devontae Freeman. I don't think, there's some injury risk, there's some question marks, but to go wide receiver and still get that potential at running back, I kind of like it. But they don't fall on our safe player list.
No, they do not.
I don't think any actually our second, third, or for Antonio Brown, Leonard Fournette, or Devontae Freeman there, or even our 5th pick, Chris Carson, or our 6th pick, OJ Howard. Not really safe in that draft.
No.
It's a little, hey, we're not making the official picks. It's everyone else that votes. We have a story will go up on our Instagram, so you can go check us out there. We'll be having a pick, I'm sure. By this point, our 7th pick will already be done, but you can get in for the 8th pick. And also, go check us out on Instagram for our relegation league we have going on. I haven't even talked to you about this, Jeff, I don't think. We're up to 13 leagues. We're up to 156 teams.
Yeah, that's a jump.
It's 4 tiers now. 4 tiers. Not 3, 4.
I love it, man.
It's grown. So if you want to get in on the relegation league, go check us out on Instagram as well. There is a post there that shows you how to get in. Right now we have about 5 spots left in the 13th league, as we say this. I don't know if I'm going to go beyond that. I might though. Just depends how the people come in. That's a lot of leagues. So 13 different leagues right now.
Yeah. And I love it. Start from the bottom, you work your way up. There's a lot of opportunity to move up or go down. So you really have to stay with it. I think this is going to be an incredibly fun way and a new way to play fantasy football this year.
Yeah, so go check that out. It's going to be very interesting, I think. And then also, we just got in the Scott Fish Bowl, too. It'll be my 3rd year, your 2nd year. That'll draft is going to start, I think, July 8th already. Slow draft, so we'll check us out with that. That's a interesting thing. -4 points for an interception, -2 on top of that if the guy throws a pick and it's returned for a touchdown. That is some interesting scoring. So that's a pretty cool league, though. Go check that out, scottfishbowl.com. All right, safe players. Here we go, Jeff. We'll go 5 to 1 and talk about who we think are the safest. So who is your number 5?
All right, number 5 is going to be the player that I can back up the least.
Yeah.
So that's why he's 5th. But for whatever reason, I really feel that this year Joe Mixon is a safe bet to finish about where he is going to be drafted. And you have to like that, right?
Yeah.
So right now he's going to be drafted around 10th.
Yep.
I think that is relatively safe, even if he's, a few spots below that, whatever it may be. I think that his point-wise, he will be very close to that production. And once again, there's no one that's pushing him for a spot. He's an incredibly young and athletic back that hasn't had injury issues, and on a team that desperately needs him. And last year he broke out of his shell. The first year they kind of worked him into it. Last year he was wonderful. So he averaged 4.9 yards a carry. He got 8 touchdowns. He had 237 rushes. So I mean, there's not a whole lot that I can ding him on. So for that reason, I put him as a relatively safe bet, even though he has only had one good year so far.
And he made my list too.
Really?
He's higher.
How high
He's
are we
number
talking?
2
Wow.
on my list. And it's a lot of the same reason. Like, I'm looking at, look around him, and I think he's a very good bet to finish where he's drafted. If you draft Joe Mixon, I feel like you're getting that production. You're going to be safe. There's no one going to take the job from him. He's going to get those carries. But around him, James Conner is a spot ahead of him. We don't know what that is yet. Is James Conner really the full-time back? Is he going to, what is he? But Le'Veon Bell even. We don't know what he's going to do in the Jets. David Johnson, he's had a couple he had injury 2 years ago, bad season last year. What is he really? Melvin Gordon's kind of can get injuries, so I don't know. I think actually Mixon's safer than Melvin Gordon, even though I like Gordon too. But
there is not a whole lot of running backs that I feel very safe with. I do. I mean, once again, we kind of took the top ones out of it a little bit, but even I hate to put it out there, but even Zeke has found his way into trouble, even if he's not injury prone. Saquon, that seems relatively, but he's first. How it's never necessarily the safest thing.
Then the ones right after Mixon, currently in the consensus ranks: Nick Chubb, Todd Gurley, Dalvin Cook, Marlon Mack, Damian Williams, Leonard Fournette, Derrick Henry, Devontae Freeman. Is there any safety there?
No, none.
It's Joe Mixon. He's the safest running back, and honestly, he's actually my only running back.
I do have one other one, and this one you might actually disagree with. I'm not sure,
but I might. But he's the only running back that actually made my list, and it's it. It's the only one. He's number 2, but you're going to get. He could be better. He's the one that I don't think you're going to be lower than this, and he does have room to grow to move up. I don't think he's a number 1 type guy. I don't think he's a really like a top 3 guy. But hey, it's not. If you told me at the end of the year Joe Mixon will finish like top 3, I wouldn't be shocked. It's there. It's very possible for him. So I like the pick. I think it's pretty solid.
So who was your number 5 then?
So my number 5 ended up being Keenan Allen.
Oh, okay.
And I don't think the injury thing's a concern anymore for him. It was for a couple of years, but it was always freak stuff.
Yeah,
it was
not reoccurring.
Yeah, it wasn't anything like we have this ongoing ankle injury that doesn't go away, or it's the Todd Gurley knee thing. It's not that. It was freak stuff. And while I don't know, I mean, last 2 years he's been very good. 102 for catches in 2017, 97 in 2018, 1,300 yards. His yards went down last year to 1,196, which is still very good. And he got 6 touchdowns both years. Mike Williams could emerge a little bit. Hunter Henry could emerge a little bit, but I don't think it'll drop him too much. It might drop him slightly, but you're getting him right now. I mean, he's the 10th ranked wide receiver, and he goes around there. But you're getting a pretty safe guy. A lot of times he can be your number 2, and that's a great number 2.
Yeah.
And you're going to just get good production. You might not get amazing, great production, but you're going to get very good production.
And the reason I like that pick for a safe player is because if you can get a wide receiver that guarantees yardage and not necessarily touchdowns rather than the other way around, it makes me feel a lot better, right? And I like him because he actually has that upside where he could catch more touchdowns, unlike, say, a T.Y. Hilton, which I feel like that's never going to be his bag, right? He'll get some, but he's never going to be a double-digit guy. And so I like it, but the injuries, kind of, they didn't scare me off, but just because of that, I didn't put him on the top 5.
I just don't think it's a thing anymore. I really don't, for some reason. I think he's fine. Some other people are going to say Mike Williams is going to take away, and I don't know how much he will.
I feel like they're very different types of wide receivers.
Yeah, I agree with that. All right, number 4.
Number 4, and this is the one that you might disagree with me on. So let me lay out my.
All right, let's see
my premise. But this year, I really think that Mark Ingram is a safe player. And once again, a lot of this has to do with where they're being drafted, right? And I know that he was in a He was in a committee. He has been that way pretty much his entire career. I actually think that helps him. He was in the Saints offense, which is very dynamic. Now he's going to Baltimore, but I think that he is built for that. And I think he is by far the best running back over there, even though he is 30. And he is going at the 23rd running back position right now.
Is it all the way down at 23rd?
Yeah. Right now he is ranked at 23.
Okay.
So you're talking about a guy that, and listen to these numbers too. So last year, yeah, he got popped for, substances that shouldn't have been in his body. He got dinged 4 games, so it did hurt his production. He only got to 650 yards. He still got 6 touchdowns rushing. The 2 years before that, even with Kamara, he got 1,000 yards. And one of the years he got 12 rushing touchdowns, which he just went bananas, right? You probably don't expect that, but it's possible. He can do that. And once again, he did that with a full season. And he has never really missed a lot of time. He has been very healthy. And the fact that he has been in that committee and the fact that he did get to sit out 4 games, he only had 138 rushes last year. That has got to help a running back stay healthy. I mean, you look at his production, and it has been wonderful, even though he hasn't had the type of carries that a lot of these top 10 guys have. And on top of that, when you look at his numbers from 2014, even though he was in a committee back, he didn't get as many carries. He was ranked 15th, 10th, 6th, and then 28th last year when he missed 4 games. And obviously the production was hurt a little bit by that, but he was still startable in every game that he played pretty much. I mean, he was still a running back 3 by the end of the season without 4 games. And now you're going to a Baltimore team, which once again, I think you would agree that I think the quarterback, Lamar, he helps a running back in that situation. And this guy can catch the ball as well. And no one else has really showed that they're going to be that type of playmaker. So with all that said, I know he's on a new team. I know he's on a committee back. I know that he's always been looked over. But when I see him going 24th and I get down there, I want this guy really bad because I think not only will he outperform, he's a safe bet to get 24th, be a running back 3, running back 2. I think he can outperform that easily.
I actually considered him.
He
didn't make my list, but he actually was the other guy I was thinking of. Honestly,
what was the thing that scared you to not put him in the top 5? Like, what was the ding that
I guess it's
I'm
just
not sure.
because I haven't seen him with a full workload the last few years. I guess that's the only thing is can he actually I think back to how he was with the Saints it's almost prior to Alvin Kamara coming there. And around that time, he wasn't really good. He was kind of a disappointment. And so it makes I hesitate only with that is, was he just a product of that offense? I don't 100% know.
Well, once again, I looked at this too because I kind of remember that, right? The first 3 years, you're not wrong because he was ranked 46th, 34th, and then 60th overall. But he played 10 games, then a full season, and then 11. But 10 games, he was a rookie, right? And what was it, Pierre Thomas? Like, he still had him there. He's always had another good back with him for the most part. I look at that, I'm kind of like, okay, he was growing, he was learning how to, be in that offense rather than Alabama, where he was just a better athlete than everyone. And I think he's really grown into that, and you can really see that too, as he keeps getting better. And I don't know, I think that Baltimore suits him perfectly, and I think we're finally going to see a team that puts him number 1.
Yeah, and I guess he could just end up being a product of the Baltimore system, which has been pretty good.
Yeah,
it made Alex Collins a thing. It made Gus Edwards a thing.
Right, exactly.
It made those guys. Ingram's clearly better than them.
Even if he plays 13 games, I can't imagine you lose on that 24th ranking.
Yeah, that's the thing. You're not gonna. It's pretty safe for you. It really is, and that's why he was. It's funny. Yeah, you look at the list, and it's like you go from Mixon. The next guy you see on the list that you're actually, okay, there's only one other guy that I'm like, okay, maybe. And that's actually, it's a funny thing, it's actually Kerryon Johnson in a way. But it's only because I know if he's not hurt or he should be the guy there. But
that is
Ingram
crazy
is the next
one. That is crazy how unpredictable running back is. Because if Kerryon Johnson is your number 3rd and he got hurt last year as a rookie.
But when you look at the list, though, I mean.
Oh, no, without a doubt.
It's like.
the only other 2 people that I would feel safe with is the number 3 and 4, which I'm not going to put obviously on here, but McCaffrey and Kamara, because you catch the ball as well, and it kind of gives you a safety net.
At the top of the list, Christian McCaffrey is probably my favorite for that type of position. Safety is just Christian McCaffrey.
Right. But they were so high that you're kind of like, you know, is that safe?
Yep. Actually, so I'll get to my number 4. Actually, before I get to my number 4, I'm going to say a player that I almost wanted to put on my list.
Okay.
That I'm going to say his name, and you're going to be like, that's the furthest thing from this list. But I almost did it.
Okay.
In a weird way.
Craig thinks Tyreek Hill is safe.
No, but Brandon Cooks. The boomer bust thing takes him away. It's how you look at this. If you think of week to week, he can't be it. But if you think of end of year where he's going to finish, he's completely that. So if it's best ball, like a best ball, he's there. But if it's week to week, you can't put him there.
Well, that's funny because
Probably.
he is on my list,
Is he really?
and he's number 1.
Wow. So you did do it.
I did.
I didn't thought you'd be crazy. I'm completely skipping. I didn't think you put, but he was actually, I have him here listed. I have him put him because I'm like, I don't know to put him or not.
Well, you look
Screw
at
it. I'm taking off my number 4. Brandon Cooks is my new number 4.
Okay.
I just changed my list.
So we can talk about him now because
He's my new number 4.
you look at his numbers.
Yes.
And he's been a productive wide
Yes.
receiver everywhere
And
he's gone.
Is the boom and bust thing a little overblown?
Without a
Right?
doubt.
Like, I wanted to put his name. So yeah, he is. He's now my number 4. I just made my change. But it felt crazy in a way. If I felt like, man, this doesn't make sense. But then the last 4 years, he's finished 12th, 8th, 7th, 13th. He's just guaranteed to finish there. And he's only getting drafted at the 15th, or he's 15th ranked receiver, but he's finished ahead of that the last 4 years. How is he not that guy?
No, he is beating his drafting spot every single year. Not to mention, you're in a great offense. And even more so, if everyone out there that really thinks Gurley is going to take a step back, good. I mean, even better for them, right? I don't think so, and I still think he's going to be great. And he was, even though they had the injury to Kupp, he still finished 13th when they could really, really key on him. And they don't really have a tight end, so it was him and Woods all day. I mean, you could try to figure out a way to take those guys away. At least you would think you would try to take number 1 away, and he still ended up number 13th. Yeah. And he's been in 3 different teams, and they're all very good. Don't get me wrong, but every single place he's shown out. He was with the Saints, showed out. He was with the Patriots, showed out. He was with Rams, already showed out, and he has played a full season the last 4 years.
Yeah,
as an undersized guy, and he's just a very well-rounded wide receiver. When I looked at his numbers, he was one of the unassuming guys where I was kind of like, okay, I have to look into him. And when I started really going over it, I was like, oh my God, I can get him as a number 2 wide receiver. Maybe he drops even further than that.
He has some games where he's not as good, but
Yeah.
it's not as many as you really think. Like, because he still had a 5 for 87. That's still decent.
Yeah.
7 for 159, 7 for 90, 7 for 116. That's how he started last year. Pretty good. Then he missed a game, so he came back after that with only 2 for 53. All right. A 4 for 64, got a touchdown. 3 for 74, yards are okay, but in PPR, you're not as happy. 6 for 114, 10 for 100, 8 for 107. Nice stretch. Then he wasn't as good towards the end with 4 for 62, 3 for 22, 6 for 59. But he has 5 games over 100. He's just solid. He's very solid. He always finishes up there every time. If you're in like a best ball type situation, for sure get him. He's your second. This is your second. This is a great number 2 receiver.
Yeah, and really last year, if you throw out his rookie season where he only played 10 games, started 7, he had 3 touchdowns in that one. If you threw that one out there, last year was his worst year for touchdowns. And I just can't imagine he doesn't beat 5 touchdowns this year either. I think it's very easy for him to move up. Touchdowns alone. So I think you lock him into 1,100 yards at least and 5 touchdowns. That would be, I feel like that would be the floor.
Yep. Oh, so we're on the clock in that fantasy football throne league. So we'll do a quick update on that. We're going for a 3rd receiver to our squad. So I put up the poll, and there's 4 receivers. It's Dante Pettis, Cortland Sutton, Alshon Jeffrey, Marvin Jones.
Oh, this is beautiful.
So we have the 2 young guys people love. We got the two older guys who people almost kind of throw to the side. So It's going to be interesting. Early votes. I just put it up like 2 minutes ago. So Alshon is leading the poll right now and actually almost pulling away, which is kind of shocking to me. So, wow, Alshon's at 52 votes. Dante Pettis at 37 votes. Marvin Jones is at 20 votes. And Cortland Sutton's at 18 votes. So Alshon's looking like our pick will be our third receiver. So, hey, what I don't know if that's just people picking a name and not really thinking about Dante Pettis. I kind of like Pettis, but whatever. It's our third receiver. So, no big deal. All right, so back to the list. So we've had your number 5, Joe Mixon, which was my number 2. Yeah. We've had your number 4, Mark Ingram. My number 5 was Keenan Allen. My number 4 was Brandon Cooks, which was your number 1. So that puts us at number 3. And Brandon Cooks made my list only because I decided to change it at the last second and thought maybe I wasn't as crazy as I thought. All right, so you're number 3.
My number 3 is no surprise whatsoever. It's Michael Thomas. I know he's relatively high when we talk about it, but he is just so darn safe that I have to, there's no way not to put him on here. He's going to finish in the top 10. I mean, it's almost a foregone conclusion. Mm-hmm. The guy's a machine. So he's only been in the league for 3 years. He's ranked 9th, 8th. He has good production as far as yardage, good production as far as TDs. He has a good offense. He has a great quarterback. What else can you say about him? It doesn't matter who else is around him. He will produce.
And no one really takes. The only one who takes catches away from him is Alvin Kamara. It seems like, if anything. But Michael Thomas is my number 1.
No problem with that whatsoever. The only reason he didn't go a little higher is because of how high he's being drafted. Well, right now he's being drafted 5th. And
but he's like the guy for some reason that he's so clearly just safer than the others. I mean, Hopkins is safe but he's number 1.
Yeah.
But now you think Devontae Adams is pretty safe, but
he's safe too, he's going number 2, right?
Julio isn't.
That was the only reason
Julio's like my cutoff.
All 3 of those guys would have made my list if I was going just straight. Yeah. But Michael Thomas was the lowest I could go, or the highest I could go without. Because
Odell's not at 4.
No, not at all.
Yeah, and he's just not. But Michael Thomas is my number 1. Just like everything he said, it's just he's probably. I mean, absolute worst case, Michael Thomas is like going to be 8th.
Yeah, and listen to these numbers too, which they're pretty incredible because he is 25 right now. He'll be 26 this year. He's played 3 years in the NFL. He's missed 1 game in his rookie year, and that's it. He has 121 targets, 149, 147 targets. All right, receptions 92, 104, 125. He keeps trending in the right direction. Yardage 1137, 1245, 1405. TDs 959. So a little up and down, but nothing to worry about whatsoever. And catch percentage as well. 76%, just about 70, and then 85% last year. That is mind-blowing as a number 1 when you have the best CB on you. It is unbelievable. So, yeah. I mean, I don't know how this guy can get better, but I think he actually has room if he really wanted to. Score a few more touchdowns. I don't know.
But yeah, that's why he broke onto my list at number 1 when he's this high. Normally I don't look at that, but he's just so clearly safe. There's nothing close to him, I feel like, up there. I mean, there really is. Yeah, some of those top guys, I don't even know. He's just safer to me than them even. Below him, Juju I think has a pretty good chance, but it's still, he's never been the actual number 1.
Exactly.
Mike Evans is not. We talked about that in the past, how it's up and down nature. Antonio Brown, we have no idea what to expect there. T.Y. Hilton's definitely the same thing. Then it's Keenan Allen who made my list is the next guy. Other than that, it's A.J. Green, Amari Cooper. Yeah, not gonna mess around with those guys. It's Michael Thomas. You get him. Yeah, it's always funny because it's like he's never the most exciting guy to get, I feel like. But he's so you should feel good about your team if you get him.
Should feel good, but it's hard because he is going to be your number 1 wide receiver, right? So you look at that and you're like, I wish I had a little edge, like he could go off for 3 touchdowns in a game. That's not him. But every time you put him in there, you're going to be like, all right, I have solid production every single time.
Yeah, you're going to be. This is I feel like this is actually a pairing that you could probably pull off depending on how your draft falls. But you could definitely get like a Christian McCaffrey, Michael Thomas, your first and second. That would be, I think, really solid.
Yeah, that would be a great PPR pairing too.
I'm trying to see how the ADP's fallen for those guys. But McCaffrey, I mean, he's right now 4, but he can go as low as 5. And it depends on what people are. There's crazy people out there. Pick David Johnson, number 1 in leagues.
It's a stretch, but Michael Thomas, like you said, is not garnered nearly as high as he probably should be. And there are other wide receivers that can jump up.
Yeah.
I think McCaffrey is really, I mean, people are in love with him, so he will go high.
It's definitely easier to pull off in a 10-team league. You can pull it off in a 10-team league. With Michael Thomas's ADP is 14. So you can definitely pull it off in a 10 to 12. Makes it a little harder. But right now, Thomas is going ahead of like Juju, who he could be passed up in a draft. Odell's going behind him too. Those guys could pass him in a certain draft. So you could get, I'd love that pairing. That'd be an awesome pairing.
Yeah, that would be really, really good. And there are guys that have high enough profiles that could jump him. And you mentioned one, Juju, but even Mike Evans and Antonio Brown, you know, those guys could easily go above him as well.
Because I don't think Michael Thomas, the hype's never going to get there. If anything, he's just going to fall a spot or two. It's just there's not a hype train for him. He's just solid. So he's a good one there. So that was your number 3.
And then you can pick up Brandon Cooks later.
Right.
Mark Ingram, Joe Mixon.
So
you can pretty much get all of these guys in one draft if it went perfectly.
I feel like we've had a lot of pretty decent names on this list. And so my third one, which is actually going to be the last guy for me to talk about. I've gotten to my number 1 and number 2. And it's not probably as exciting. He gets overlooked, I feel like, sometimes, but his rank's pretty decent. It's actually Julian Edelman. And
okay.
This isn't an amazing pick. I'm going to say that. But he is currently, he's going higher than you think, but I feel like I see him right now as an ADP 15, but I don't see that when I draft. Because every single time I've been in there, like Galladay goes ahead of him. I've seen Tyler Lockett go ahead of him a bunch. I've seen Chris Godwin go ahead of him. I see Cooper Kupp go ahead of him. I've seen Sammy Watkins go ahead of him. And Edelman just always gets overlooked and falls. Not always. There's always a Patriots fan once in a while that just loves him and he goes higher. But he didn't play a full season last year, missed 4 games, and yet he still had really good numbers. And you could tell, obviously, you look back at the Super Bowl, and when Brady needs to throw to a guy, he's going to throw to Edelman. It's just going to go to Edelman. But so in 12 games last year, he had 74 catches, 850 yards, 6 touchdowns. The year before, when he actually played a season, 98 for 1,100, 3 touchdowns. He's going to play a full season. He's going to get very close to 100 catches. He's going to get 1,000 to 1,100 yards. He's just going to be there. They drafted N'Keal Harry. He's going to be, I think, up and down. I don't know what to expect from him. There's no Gronk. You got to throw the ball at Edelman. He's going to catch a lot of balls. Again, this isn't the most exciting pick in the world. You're never like, oh, I can't believe I got Julian Edelman. My season's made. It's sometimes it's where you get him. If he falls a little further and you get him, as your 3rd receiver, which depending on how you draft could happen, you feel really good about that. He is getting drafted as a number 2, but every draft's different. But yeah, it's Edelman for me.
Yeah, I mean, you know how I feel about it.
I know it's just
he's
not
showing
exciting.
up on my I can't remember, overvalue or whatever it was.
But I don't like. That's the thing, though. I don't like where he's ranked right now. But
yeah,
I feel like
he's ranked far too high.
I just feel like I've seen him so many times, and he gets overlooked in the drafts, and he starts to actually become a value. If he's drafted where he's ranked all the time, it's not a value, but he becomes that a lot of times in these drafts. And I can see why. It's just you want the more exciting player. And he's going to put up numbers, though. You're not going to be. I mean, shoot, I put Lamar Miller on this list a couple of years ago. Like, we didn't like the guy, but, he was just, okay, he's going to get the catch. He's going to get the carries. It's going to happen. So you don't always have to love the guy, but I think Edelman's fine. He's just not, I'll love him as a 3. I always say that kind of thing, but I love him as a 3. As a 2, I like him as a 2 if you went heavy running backs and you got some really good running backs. That's where I like Edelman as a 2. So he's my number 3 ranked player in my safe list, and that's it for me. My list was Thomas, Mixon, Edelman, Cooks, Keenan Allen. So you're number 2, and that's it because Cooks is your number 1.
Yep, number 2, and we're done. And a quarterback has finally shown up on our list.
I couldn't find myself. I couldn't get one for myself.
I have to. I mean, I looked at it, and you could have easily said Aaron Rodgers, right? But he's relatively high. But I think Drew Brees going at number 8 is just incredibly safe. And people, after the first 4, 5, people wait on QB for so long. So even though he's number 8, he is going to go so late in a lot of drafts. And it doesn't mean all of them, depending on your rules and everything like that. So, but if you look at this guy, he is the safest player maybe in NFL. He is. I mean, he's getting older now, but he still has very good A very good team around him, very good weapons to throw to. And since 2004, he has not ranked outside the top 10 as a quarterback. I mean, when ninth is the worst you've ever done, and he missed a grand total of 4 games since 2004. I mean, he's never missed over 1 game in a season, after 2004. So, I mean, it's as simple as that. Mm-hmm. He's that good. He's on a good team. If you draft him at number 8, you're great. You're grand. You're wonderful. You're going to have a top 10 quarterback. And on top of that, let me look at his numbers real quick as well. I almost want to look for Scott Fishbowl more than anything, but yeah. But I mean, last year he went 32 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. So he also has a very good, and for almost 4,000 yards. So he's just very solid. And even no matter what type of rules you're playing with, whether or not, interceptions are worth more or touchdowns are worth a little bit less, this guy is always going to be in that meet because he doesn't excel just in one thing. He is just a very well-rounded quarterback. And once again, that team is going to go far. So he is going to try to put up numbers.
And if I were to pick a quarterback, I had 2 people in mind. Drew Brees was one of them.
Was Aaron Rodgers the other?
He was it. I just didn't.
Yeah, I get it.
I think he is.
You could because he's. Yeah. They put him at number 4 now. Like that's where he's getting drafted. I feel like you could have easily put him there.
And honestly, the only other guy who I considered is just because I think he could finish as number 1 or he could be 10th, but 10th is fine. He's not going to get much lower than that. It's Russell Wilson. Oh, he's just consistent. His career so far, 9th, 8th, 3rd, 11th, 1st, 9th. He's just there.
The fact that he was last year, he was in the top 10, it says a whole lot about him.
He's just always there. He has the number 1 potential. But he's really not going to be worse than 10th for you. You're not going to get a complete terrible season. Which somebody like Matt Ryan, who people have been wanting to pick, he can have that 17th, 18th, 19th ranked season.
He drives me insane. I will never draft Matt Ryan unless he drops drastically where he's at. But I'll never end up picking him because he is so bipolar as far as where he ends up on the list, and we see it every single year. And I truly can't put my finger on it. I don't know what it is because he's always had Julio pretty much for the stretch I'm talking about. He's had wonderful wide receivers. He's had a good running game for the most part. Last year, even though he did really well, the weakest. But that means maybe when Devontae Freeman comes back, maybe that hurts him in the long run. I don't know. There's no rhyme or reason to why Matt Ryan goes up and down. That's why he drives me crazy, and that's why I can't imagine why. I don't get why people hype him up quite much because right now he's ranked like 6th. I think that's high. I mean, I don't know.
He was good, yes, and he's had 2 of the last 3 years I guess have been really good, but that in between was just so poor that I don't want to take that chance. You don't need to at quarterback. You just wait and get, Drew Brees. No one drafts Drew Brees anymore. Just get him. I'd rather go get Carson Wentz later. There's a little risk, but there's a potential number 1 guy.
Yeah.
And shoot, we might need to like Carson Wentz because Alshon Jeffrey is absolutely running away with this poll.
Oh, is he?
I'm shocked at this. So he's going to be a wide receiver number 3. I did not see that coming. Alshon is just destroying things here. He's up 85 votes to Dante Pettis' 50. And then Marvin Jones 41 and Courtland Sutton 34.
Dude, we're going for the most
injury prone
team. I mean, you look at where he has finished just for funsies. 2013 will start this off. He finished 9th, then 12th, 41, 54, 16, 26. And he has been injury prone. He missed 7 games in 2015, 4 in the next, 3 last year. So we're going to have a lot of fun with this.
It's going to be interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting.
Yeah, that's going to be fun. So,
anyway, that's my list. So Brandon Cooks number 1, Drew Brees number 2, Michael Thomas, Mark Ingram, and who was my 5th? Because
Joe Mixon.
Joe Mixon, because I started looking up other stuff.
Hey, if you're curious who I dropped out of the list for Brandon Cooks, I'll just Adam Thielen. So I think he's going to be relatively good. He's going to be safe because he's going to be. What I'm thinking with Adam Thielen, great first half, terrible second half. I think he's just going to be in between, and he's just going to be there, and he's going to get you 100 catches, over 1,000 yards. He's just going to be good.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
I think it's just going to be fine.
Yeah,
but Brandon Cooks I like better. So all right, that's going to do it for the safe players. we'll be back next week with another episode that I've planned out that I cannot remember what I planned out now, Jeff. So no, we're going to get some good stuff going on. We're going to start talking again about, we're end of June right now. So we're going to start talking about breakout players and sleepers, and all of that kind of stuff is now what we're going to start doing again here. So we'll get some of our good breakouts, some of our sleepers. Rankings are going to start in just about a month from now. Just about a month we'll start all of our ranks. So we have a lot of just good stuff. Breakouts, I think everyone loves breakouts the most.
Breakouts. Yeah, breakouts, overvalued, undervalued. All that stuff is wonderful.
Stuff, overvalued, undervalued.
And we're about to come out with a lot more of that, and we are about to hit the stride in the season. So if you haven't already, please check us out on Instagram. Very cool stuff there. You won't be disappointed. We're also going to kick up the YouTube production.
Yep.
We're going to start doing a videotaped mailbag. We're also going to put up a lot of other videos along with Instagram and stuff like that. So those two places, especially if you're just listening to the podcast, subscribe, support us. We appreciate it, and we'll give you more content, which will be fun.
Yep. All right. We'll talk to you guys next week.